Potatoes may be a staple in many kitchens, but there's a whole world of forgotten crops that are even better. And yet, no one is growing them anymore. From ancient grains to nutrient-packed tubers, we will uncover 15 of these hidden gems that are more nutritious and sustainable than potatoes, and ask why they are disappearing from our fields. Taro. If potatoes had a cool cousin who lived on tropical islands, that would be taro. This prehistoric-looking plant with its giant elephant ear leaves hides a treasure underground. Starchy, purple-speckled tubers that turn creamy and almost buttery when cooked. Pacific Islanders have been growing taro for thousands of years, mashing it into poi or slicing it into hearty stews. The beauty of taro goes beyond its unique taste. It's packed with fibre that keeps your gut happy and antioxidants that fight off the bad stuff in your body. While potatoes get all the glory in Western supermarkets, taro quietly does its thing, thriving in flood-prone areas where other crops would just throw in the towel and rot. Taro isn't just food, it's woven into the cultural fabric of many Pacific communities. In Hawaii, it's considered the elder brother of the Hawaiian people in creation stories, and growing it is seen as a sacred connection to ancestors. Every part of the plant can be used. Roots for eating, stems for cooking, and those massive leaves for wrapping food. The plant is so important that some Pacific communities track their heritage through the varieties they grow, with some families guarding special taro types for generations. It's like having a family heirloom you can eat. While potatoes might reign supreme in fast food joints, taro has been sustaining entire civilizations with more nutrients and cultural significance than French fries could ever dream of having. Second, tepary beans. When most beans would shrivel up and die in the harsh desert heat, tepary beans just laugh and keep on growing. These tough little legumes were the secret weapon of tribes like the Tohono O'odham and Akimel O'odham, who figured out how to farm in places where the thermometer regularly hits 3 digits, and rain is just a distant memory. Tepary beans come in a rainbow of colours: white, brown, black, speckled, and pack more protein punch than your everyday pinto or kidney bean. They have this nutty, earthy flavour that deepens when cooked, making them perfect for southwestern stews and bean dishes. While common beans throw tantrums if conditions aren't perfect, teparies evolve to thrive when times get tough, developing deep root systems that can hunt down water where other plants can't reach. Native farmers didn't just grow teparies, they developed a whole water harvesting system to make the most of rare desert rainfall, creating earth berms that directed precious moisture to their bean fields. This wasn't just farming, it was desert wizardry. The beans themselves are nutritional powerhouses that help regulate blood sugar levels far better than potatoes ever could. Sadly, as processed foods invaded native diets, these miracle beans nearly disappeared, and with them rose epidemics of diabetes in the same communities that once thrived on teparies. The good news is that native farmers and food sovereignty advocates are bringing them back, saving seeds and traditional growing methods. When you eat tepary beans, you're tasting a plant that's been outsmarting drought for thousands of years, way before anyone thought to make a potato chip. 3. Amaranth. Imagine tiny seeds smaller than poppy seeds that pack more nutritional punch than most grains twice their size. That's amaranth for you. These little powerhouses were so important to the Aztecs, they not only ate them, but used them in religious ceremonies too, until Spanish conquistadors banned the crop, thinking this would weaken the Aztecs' spiritual connection to their land. Despite this cultural attack, amaranth stuck around, hiding in remote villages and kitchen gardens. The seeds cook up into a porridge that's slightly nutty with a pop between your teeth, but the plant offers a 2-for-1 deal that potatoes can't match. Its leaves are also delicious, similar to spinach, but with a heartier texture that stands up well to cooking in stir-fries and soups. The true superpower of amaranth lies in its nutritional profile. It's one of the few plant foods that contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein source. Throw in its impressive iron and calcium content, and you've got a food that could single-handedly improve nutrition in many parts of the world. Its seed heads can contain up to 60,000 seeds per plant, making it incredibly productive for small spaces. Farmers love that it grows fast, often ready to harvest in just 45 days after planting. While potatoes languish in the soil for months, amaranth races to produce food quickly, making it perfect for regions with short growing seasons or for hungry communities that need food fast. Now that's efficiency that a potato could only dream about. 4. Cassava. If there was an Olympic medal for crops that can take a beating and still feed a family, cassava would bring home the gold. This tropical root crop, also called manioc or yucca, has fed people across South America, Africa, and Asia for centuries. Its starchy roots grow bigger and tougher than potatoes, with some varieties reaching the size of your arm. What makes cassava a true champion is its ability to hang out underground for up to 3 years without spoiling, like having a pantry in your garden that doesn't require refrigeration. The plant thumbs its nose at poor soil, drought, and pests, while still pumping out carbs like nobody's business. There's a catch though. Raw cassava contains compounds that can release cyanide, so proper preparation is essential. Indigenous peoples developed brilliant processing methods to remove these toxins, turning something potentially dangerous into life-sustaining food. Today, cassava feeds over 800 million people worldwide, often in places where other crops struggle. Its flour, called tapioca, makes those little pearls in your bubble tea and appears in countless gluten-free products. The roots themselves can be boiled, fried, mashed, or turned into chips that blow potato chips out of the water with their satisfying crunch. In Brazil, they make a crispy flatbread called beiju from cassava that's been part of indigenous cooking forever. Perhaps most impressive is cassava's efficiency. It produces more calories per acre than almost any other crop except sugarcane, all while requiring minimal inputs like fertilizer or pesticides. While potatoes need pampering with just the right soil and moisture, cassava just gets on with the job of feeding people, asking for little in return. It's the unsung hero of global food security that deserves way more respect than it gets. Beshinji yakon. Yakon might be the weirdest root crop you've never heard of. It looks like a potato but eats like a fruit. Bite into this crunchy Andean tuber and you will taste something closer to a watermelon crossed with an apple than anything you would expect from something growing underground. Indigenous farmers in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador have grown this juicy treat for centuries, enjoying its refreshing sweetness straight from the ground, like nature's candy. The wild thing about yakon is that its sweetness comes from inulin, a type of fiber that humans can't digest, meaning you get all the sweetness with hardly any calories. It's like a diet soda that actually grows in the ground and is good for you. While potatoes fill you up with starch, yakon fills your gut with prebiotics that feed your beneficial gut bacteria, essentially working as internal fertilizer for your microbiome. The yakon plant itself is a beauty above ground too, growing tall sunflower-like stems topped with yellow flowers. Farmers in the Andes traditionally planted yakon on the borders of their fields, creating living fences that produced food while marking property lines. The tubers come in various colours inside: white, yellow, orange, purple, each with slight flavour variations that Andean people could tell apart, like wine connoisseurs distinguishing vintages. Modern science has discovered that yakon can help regulate blood sugar and might be beneficial for people with diabetes or those watching their sugar intake. While potatoes have conquered the world, yakon remains a hidden gem, only recently making its way to health food stores and specialty markets. It's the perfect example of indigenous wisdom that took modern nutritionists thousands of years to catch up with, and also a sweet treat that's actually good for you. Georgia. These knobby little tubers, looking like wrinkled fingers with personality, come in crayon box colours: sunny yellow, hot pink, deep purple, and even tubers with swirly patterns. Indigenous farmers in the high Andes have grown okai for over 8,000 years, developing hundreds of varieties adapted to different elevations and growing conditions. Unlike temperamental potatoes that sulk when frost hits, OCA shrugs off the cold mountain nights, growing happily at altitudes where the air is thin and temperatures swing wildly. The flavour is where OCA really shines. Each colour offers its own taste adventure, ranging from lemony tart to nutty sweet. Some varieties taste like apples with a hint of lemon. Others have a buttery quality that makes them perfect for roasting. The clever thing about OCA is how Indigenous farmers use sunlight to transform its flavour. Freshly harvested tubers contain oxalic acid that gives them a sour bite. Traditional farmers spread the harvested tubers in the sun for several days, which triggers a natural process that converts the starches to sugars and reduces the sourness, essentially sun-sweetening their crop without any processing equipment. This sunbathing technique, developed centuries before modern food science existed, shows the sophisticated agricultural knowledge built into Indigenous food systems. Oka also partners beautifully with other Andean crops in traditional farming systems, growing alongside potatoes, quinoa and beans in a mutually beneficial relationship. While potatoes travelled the world becoming a global staple, OCA stayed mostly in its mountain home until recently, when colourful new vegetables started appearing in farmers' markets and on chefs' plates. Little do many people know they are tasting Indigenous innovation that has kept Andean people well fed through countless generations. Quinoa. Before quinoa became the darling of health food stores and trendy restaurants, it was the backbone of the Incan Empire, so treasured that Incan emperors planted the first seeds of the growing season using golden tools. This tiny grain-like seed packs nutrition that puts potatoes to shame. Complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids, fibre, magnesium and iron all wrapped up in a package that cooks in 15 minutes. Indigenous farmers in Bolivia, Peru and Ecuador figured out how to grow this remarkable food in some of the most challenging farmland on Earth. High-altitude fields, where the air is thin, UV radiation intense, and nighttime temperatures often drop below freezing. The plants have adapted so well to these harsh conditions that some varieties can grow in salty soils that would kill most crops. The secret to quinoa's survival lies partly in its outer coating of bitter compounds called saponins that act as natural pest repellent, the plant's own built-in organic pesticide. Indigenous processing methods developed over thousands of years remove this bitter coating through washing and rubbing the seeds. Traditional farming communities developed hundreds of quinoa varieties: red, black, rainbow, giant-seeded, each adapted to specific growing conditions and culinary uses. Some varieties float when cooked, perfect for soups. Others hold their shape for salads or grinding into flour. While quinoa has found international fame in recent decades, the story isn't all positive. Its global popularity initially drove prices so high that some Indigenous farmers could no longer afford their traditional staple food. Thankfully, increased production and fair trade practices have helped address these issues, and quinoa remains a powerful example of Indigenous agricultural genius that is finally getting the recognition it deserves, though perhaps at the expense of the humble potato. Mesquite. While most crops need pampering with regular water and good soil, mesquite trees laugh in the face of drought, sending roots up to 160 feet deep to tap underground water sources. Desert-dwelling Indigenous peoples like the Tohono O'odham, Pima and Seri recognized the mesquite as more than just a tree. It was their grocery store and pharmacy combined. The beans of this tough desert survivor hang in pods that can be ground into a sweet, nutritious flour that tastes like a cross between cinnamon, mocha and caramel. Unlike potatoes that need cooking to be edible, mesquite flour requires no cooking at all, just grind and enjoy. It's naturally sweet, but has a remarkably low glycemic index, meaning it releases energy slowly without spiking blood sugar. A critical advantage in harsh desert environments where steady energy could mean the difference between life and death. Indigenous desert dwellers developed special techniques for harvesting and processing the pods, including giant wooden mortars carved from tree trunks where they would pound the dried pods into fine flour. This flour could be mixed with water to make an instant energy drink, formed into cakes or used as a sweetener for other foods. Beyond food, the mesquite provided medicine, with various parts used to treat eye infections, stomach problems, and skin disorders. The tree's wood makes excellent cooking fuel that imparts distinctive flavour to foods, the original mesquite BBQ that high-end restaurants now try to imitate. Perhaps most impressive is how Indigenous knowledge systems recognise mesquite as a soil builder. Its roots host bacteria that pull nitrogen from the air and enrich the soil, creating fertile islands in the desert where other food plants could grow. While potatoes need humans to plant and tend them, mesquite trees volunteer themselves across the landscape, offering food while simultaneously improving their environment. Mashua. Mashua might be the most interesting crop you have never tasted. A plant with gorgeous star-shaped leaves and bright orange and yellow flowers that produces underground tubers looking like oddly coloured baby potatoes. The Inca and pre-Inca peoples treasured this high-altitude warrior that grows where few other crops dare, thriving in thin mountain air above 8,000 feet, where frosts are common and soils often poor. The tubers have a distinctive peppery kick when raw, but cooking transforms them into something more complex, slightly sweet, with hints of anise and a texture that's more tender than potatoes. Indigenous farmers particularly valued mashua for its incredible productivity, yielding more food per square foot than almost any other Andean crop, and its natural pest resistance. The same compounds that give it that spicy flavour also repel insects and nematodes. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of mashua is how it was used in indigenous medical systems. The Inca reportedly fed it to their warriors before battle, but not to increase strength. Rather, they believed mashua had anti-aphrodisiac properties that would cool the soldiers' sexual desires while away from home, helping them focus entirely on battle. Modern science has found compounds in mashua similar to those in anaphrodisiac medications, suggesting there might be truth to this traditional use. Beyond this unusual application, mashua was valued for its antibacterial properties, used to treat urinary infections and kidney problems. The plant grows with minimal care, sprawling across the ground or climbing nearby plants with its vine-like stems, packing away nutrients underground while displaying its cheerful flowers above. While potatoes travelled the world becoming fast food favourites, mashua remained in its Andean homeland, a vital part of traditional farming systems where indigenous people still grow dozens of varieties, each with unique colours, shapes and properties. Living pharmacy and grocery store combined. Breadfruit. If you could design the perfect food-producing tree, you might come up with something like breadfruit. This magnificent tree with its glossy, deeply lobed leaves can grow to 85 feet tall and live for decades, all while dropping softball to basketball-sized fruits loaded with starchy goodness. Pacific Islanders have centered cultures around this generous tree for thousands of years, with good reason. A single mature breadfruit tree can produce 450 pounds of food annually, enough to feed a family with minimal work beyond harvesting and cooking. The tree's name comes from the bread-like smell and taste when the fruit is cooked, like a potato crossed with freshly baked bread, artichoke hearts, and a hint of chestnut. While potatoes must be replanted each year with considerable labour, breadfruit trees keep producing season after season with minimal care, offering food security that potatoes can't match. The cultural significance of breadfruit runs deep across the Pacific. In Hawaiian tradition, breadfruit is connected to the god Ku, who sacrificed himself during a famine, becoming a breadfruit tree to feed his family. New life from death. Indigenous islanders developed sophisticated preservation techniques, including fermenting breadfruit underground in leaf-lined pits, where it could be stored for years as a backup food supply during hurricanes or droughts. Beyond food, every part of the tree has uses. The lightweight wood makes excellent canoes. The sticky sap works as caulking material. The bark can be pounded into cloth, and various parts serve medicinal purposes. The tragic history of breadfruit includes the infamous mutiny on the Bounty, which occurred during a mission to transport breadfruit plants to feed enslaved people on Caribbean plantations. Today, breadfruit is experiencing renewed interest as a solution for food security in tropical regions facing climate change, as it produces nutritious food with minimal inputs on marginal land, proving once again that Indigenous food wisdom often offers solutions to our most pressing modern problems. Camas, indigenous to the northwestern United States. Long before farmers planted the first potato in America, native peoples across the Pacific Northwest were tending vast gardens of blue-flowered camas lilies, harvesting their starchy bulbs as a dietary staple. These weren't wild foods that people simply gathered. They were carefully managed through controlled burning, weeding out the similar-looking but toxic death camas, and sustainable harvest practices developed over countless generations. When camas bulbs are slow roasted for days in earth ovens, an amazing transformation happens. Their indigestible inulin fibres convert to fructose, creating naturally sweet bulbs that taste like baked pears with hints of molasses. Indigenous peoples dried these sweet bulbs for winter food, trade goods, and travel rations, creating a portable, calorie-dense food that fueled everything from daily life to epic journeys. The cultural significance of camas can't be overstated. Access to camas meadows sparked both cooperation and conflict among tribes, and the knowledge of how to properly tend these plants represented sophisticated ecological understanding. Lewis and Clark's expedition might have starved without camas bulbs provided by native communities they encountered. Sadly, when European settlers arrived, they saw the vast camas meadows as wasted land perfect for cattle grazing and ploughing into wheat fields, not recognizing these were actually carefully managed food systems. Horses and ploughs destroyed centuries of indigenous food management almost overnight. Today, tribes like the Nez Perce are working to restore camas prairies and the traditional knowledge that goes with them. Unlike potatoes that need yearly planting and constant care, camas establishes itself in meadows where it can return year after year, requiring only occasional burning to prevent trees from encroaching. Its beautiful blue spring flowers attract pollinators, building ecosystem health while producing nutritious food, proving that indigenous food systems often worked with nature rather than trying to dominate it. The chaya. In the humid heat of the Yucatan, where many leafy greens would wilt and surrender, chaya thrives, growing into a productive shrub that can reach 20 feet tall if allowed. Maya communities have cultivated this tree spinach for centuries, valuing it as a reliable green vegetable available year-round with minimal work. Just a few plants near the family home can provide a steady supply of nutritious leaves packed with protein, calcium, iron, and vitamins A and C in quantities that make everyday spinach look nutritionally lazy. The large, maple-shaped leaves need boiling before eating to break down irritating compounds. But after this simple preparation, they become a versatile ingredient in soups, egg dishes, tamales, and stews. Unlike temperamental lettuce or spinach that bolt in hot weather, chaya keeps producing through drought, heat waves, and poor soil conditions that would kill most garden greens. Maya healers recognized chaya as more than just food. It featured prominently in traditional medicine for diabetes, kidney problems, and boosting mothers' milk production. Modern research has confirmed many of these benefits, finding compounds that help regulate blood sugar and reduce inflammation. The plant itself is almost supernaturally easy to grow. Stick a cutting in the ground, and it roots readily without fuss, growing quickly into a productive shrub that can feed a family for years. Unlike potato plants that die back each season, chia keeps growing year after year, becoming a permanent part of the home landscape. In traditional Maya home gardens, chia often grows alongside other useful plants in multi-layered systems that maximize production in small spaces, while creating beneficial relationships between species. The Maya have understood chia's value for over 1,000 years. The rest of us are just catching up. Sunchoke. If sunflowers and potatoes had a baby, it would be the sunchoke, a tall, cheerful plant with bright yellow flowers on top and knobby, crisp tubers underground. Indigenous peoples across eastern North America cultivated these sunflower relatives long before European contact, harvesting the crunchy tubers that taste like a water chestnut crossed with an artichoke heart with subtle, nutty overtones. Unlike fussy potatoes that sulk when the soil isn't just right, sunchokes thrive in poor soils and harsh winters, returning year after year without replanting, sometimes too enthusiastically, as any gardener who's tried to contain them knows. The tubers store their energy as inulin rather than starch, making them a low glycemic food that releases energy slowly, perfect for sustaining hunters and gatherers through long days of physical activity. When French explorers first encountered sunchokes in indigenous gardens, they shipped them back to Europe, where they became wildly popular before potatoes gained traction. The name Jerusalem artichoke has nothing to do with the Middle East. It's likely a corruption of girasole, the Italian word for sunflower. Indigenous peoples use sunchokes both fresh and dried, developing processing methods to reduce the musical side effects that can come from eating inulin-rich foods. Beyond food, the plants served as living wind barriers and soil stabilizers with their tall, sturdy stalks. Today, sunchokes are experiencing a revival in both home gardens and fine dining restaurants for their distinctive flavor and prebiotic benefits. Unlike potatoes that hide underground with no ornamental value, sunchokes offer a 2-for-1 deal: beautiful flowers that attract beneficial insects above ground and nutritious food below. They represent indigenous agricultural wisdom that recognize the value of perennial food plants that work with nature rather than against it, producing food year after year with minimal human intervention. 14th finger millet, indigenous to the highlands of eastern Africa. When most crops would throw in the towel facing months without rain, finger millet stands tall and proud, its seed heads reaching skyward like tiny hands offering food from the driest soil. This remarkable grain has sustained communities across Africa and parts of India for thousands of years, especially valued in regions where unpredictable rainfall makes farming a high-stakes gamble. The tiny reddish-brown seeds cook into a hearty porridge with a distinctive nutty flavour and satisfying texture, providing steady energy that lasts far longer than the quick carb surge of potatoes. Indigenous farmers treasured finger millet for its exceptional storage properties. Properly dried seeds can remain viable for up to 10 years without spoiling, creating food security that spans multiple drought cycles, a critical advantage in regions where famine has historically been a recurring threat. The nutritional profile of finger millet puts it in superfood territory. It contains more calcium than any other grain, making it especially valuable for pregnant women, children, and the elderly. It's also packed with amino acids, B vitamins and minerals that support overall health. Traditional processing methods developed by indigenous women involve techniques like fermentation that make these nutrients even more bioavailable and add distinctive tanginess to foods. In Uganda, finger millet is brewed into a nutritious beer that plays important roles in community celebrations and ceremonies. The plant itself requires minimal inputs, growing in soils so poor that other crops wouldn't even sprout, and resisting many pests and diseases that plague other grains. As climate change brings more unpredictable weather patterns, this indigenous superfood deserves fresh attention for its remarkable resilience. Fonio, hidden in the markets of Senegal, Mali and Burkina Faso, sits a tiny grain that packs an enormous nutritional punch. Fonio looks like sand-coloured specks, barely bigger than poppy seeds. But don't let the size fool you. This is the grain that sustained great West African empires like Mali and Songhai for thousands of years. It cooks faster than any grain you've ever met, ready in just 3 minutes, with a fluffy texture similar to couscous, but with a nuttier, earthier flavour that makes it perfect for both savoury dishes and breakfast porridge. The true magic of fonio happens in the field, where it grows in soils so poor and dry that other crops simply give up. Even when rains are scarce and the earth is parched, fonio plants push through, producing food when families need it most, during the hungry season before other crops are ready to harvest. West African farmers have a saying, fonio never shames the cook, meaning it's virtually impossible to mess up cooking it, unlike finicky rice or potatoes that can easily turn mushy or burn. Traditional farmers, particularly women who do most of the cultivation, treasure fonio varieties passed down through generations, each with specific uses and growing conditions. Some mature in just 6 to 8 weeks, making them the fastest producing grain crops in the world and crucial for food security. Beyond its reliability, fonio delivers complete protein with amino acids lacking in other grains, particularly methionine, which is crucial for tissue growth. It's also gluten-free and easily digestible, making it ideal for young children and people with sensitive stomachs. While fonio remained mostly unknown outside West Africa for centuries, it's now gaining international recognition as a climate-smart superfood. As Senegalese chef Pierre Thiam puts it, fonio is not just a grain, it's a cultural treasure that has the potential to transform economies while adapting to our changing climate. Potatoes may feed billions, but fonio shows us how indigenous crops can thrive in conditions where modern agriculture struggles. Which of these forgotten superfoods do you want to see make a comeback to your local markets and dinner tables? Drop a comment below letting us know which one you think deserves the spotlight in modern cuisine.